All right, be a man of joy in a broken world. That's the theme of the North Texas Catholic Brothers for Christ Men's Conference, Saturday, March 1st, with speakers Chris Stefanik, Father Leo Paddlinghug, and Kevin Matthews. Before I get to Kevin, who I'll spend most of my time with, I just want to thank Rick Self and Bob Duane for being in studio with me. Good afternoon,
it's awesome
gentlemen.
To be here. Yep, nice to see you, Dave.
Yeah. Everywhere I go, I see the signs at every parish in the Fort Worth Diocese. You guys are just like a machine when it comes to promoting this. How are things going so far?
Things are good. We've got over 300 men signed up. We're still waiting. We're expecting up to 1,000 men. And again, that's at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton and Keller this year. We got a big church, so we can handle a lot of people. It's a wonderful event. The speakers are dynamic. You're going to hear one here in just a minute. But we have Chris Stefanik, we have Father Leo Paddlinghug, and Kevin Matthews, and also just a fellowship with 1,000+ men. It's an awesome day. The theme is about joy, about bringing happiness and joy to others around you. As Catholic men, we need to do that. We need to be joyful men. And my wife reminds me all the time, I need to be a joyful man. So that's what it's going to be.
Is that when you get cranky? She says
right.
that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's Rick Self. Bob Duane here. Bob, you've been a part of these events for so many years. What continues to drive you to be part of the North Texas Catholic Brothers for Christ, and this conference in particular?
Well, they're life-changing. And take a day. I got my kids coming, my son's coming. This is a life-changing event. And I'll just say this, when we were at the Catholic Men's Leadership Alliance in California in June, I heard Kevin Matthews. I didn't know him. I've never laughed so hard and cried in one talk as much as I did with him. He is spectacular.
Yeah, well, let's get right to him. How dare him make you cry like that? That's horrible. Kevin Matthews, being a radio guy myself, I just can't imagine the type of reach that you had being a personality on 1,000 The Loop AM and ABC and CBS Radio, where literally millions of people were listening. Radio is so splintered now with so many different media. Back then, boy, it was different. But welcome to the program. It's a real honor to speak to you.
Oh, thank you very much, and Rick, Bob, it's so great to hear from you. And I'm very, very humbled. Going back to my radio days, and yes, when we were in Chicago, we were in 32 states in Canada, so I had 10 million people listening to me every week. So, and we were the Rolling Stones of radio. We could do anything we wanted, and my lifestyle has certainly changed, and I'm having an even better time with God now than I am with Mick Jagger.
Yeah, would it be a fair comparison to say that you were a Howard Stern type of morning jock? Were you, or the drive time, I should say? Were you blue? Was it dirty? What was your shtick? I know you had characters.
Yeah, I did. I worked with Howard, and Howard was one of a kind. I wasn't like Howard at all, but that doesn't mean. I always had a golf event every year for charity, right, if you want to call it that. And I got kicked out of 10 courses in 10 years. So think of what you've got to do to get kicked out of a golf course. And we'll just leave it at that, okay? My radio career has been absorbed in the curtains of confessionals. And so, it was... I have a beautiful wife, and I've got 2 great kids, and, I never, I had a responsibility as a father, but at the same time, I compare myself to like a Chris Farley. I would always push the line, but I never got in, like I was thinking today, I've never done cocaine. That's all I needed to do. I mean, I had friends die from cocaine overdoses, or, who could afford that? And I just stayed away from it. But that doesn't mean, after I did a concert, I sure liked, a Budweiser. And, after I got out of radio, the Anheuser-Busch stock crashed, and that's how come you don't see Clydesdales anymore. They can't feed them because of me.
You had characters. There's one called Jim Shortz, the sports commentator. Yes. Can you do us? Can you still do that bit?
first of all, it's me, Jim, and I'm in Kev's first book. And if anybody's listening, don't read any of these books, because if you do, it changes your world. So just stay away from him. And I do sports now, so my big thing is, here comes the Super Bowl. Guess who's going to win? Kansas City. They've already got the trophy etched.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Kevin Matthews is my guest. He's going to be one of the speakers at the March 1st Men's Conference, sponsored by the North Texas Catholic Brothers for Christ. Be a man of joy in a broken world. It's going to be at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Parish in Keller. Chris Stefanik, Father Leo Paddling Hug. And you can get your tickets, CatholicBrothersForChrist.com/men's faith event. CatholicBrothersForChrist.com/men's faith event. And Kevin, you wrote a book called Broken Mary, A Journey of Hope. And I know this is going to play a big part of your talk on the first, and I don't want to give everything away on the radio interview, but can you talk about that moment when everything changed in your life? And I know there was health issues, and there was what was that catalyst moment when things changed?
Well, radio, I was at the pinnacle, Mount Everest. My flag is up there. And radio started to change just because of technology and whatnot. And I found that by 2005, I wanted to leave Chicago and go back to where my radio career began in Michigan. And I just saw it coming. And, of course, I picked a perfect time. By 2005, and I'm back and forth. We couldn't sell the house because of the housing crash, and so I'm commuting back and forth from Chicago to Michigan, and it was just, and I was diagnosed with MS, and the life definitely was starting to come out of me as far as radio. I hit the iceberg, and I was sinking. I was taking on water, and eventually, my wife came over. We sold the house. I just signed a 5-year contract, so I'm thinking life is pretty good. I can get back to my old mischiefy me. And I got a call. They said the boss wants to see you, and so I went down to his office, and I was fired. And that's when it really hit. And the following day, I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to how am I going to pay these bills, feed Deb and I? What's going to happen? And I always, I know now it was the Holy Spirit calling me, but back then I heard a voice that said, get your wife some flowers. And I look up and there's a flower shop. Again, people listening right now, there's no such thing as a coincidence at all. And I went in. And before I got into the door of the flower shop, I looked over to my left, and I could tell, I was born Catholic, and I could tell that there was a statue of the Virgin Mary laying on the ground about 20 yards from me, and I knew it was the Virgin Mary. And I slowly walked over to it, and she's looking at me. She's broken in half. Her hands are missing. She's covered in garbage. She's sunk in the mud. And I'm not a good Catholic, hey man, I'm a mess. I'm a sinner. And I looked at her, she looked at me, and I heard, will you deny me? Will you deny my mother? And that was the voice of Jesus Christ. And the story is retrieving that statue and how that changed my life. And I did get the statue, and it was as if God, it wasn't as if it was God, it was God, but Jesus Christ said, Kevin, I'm going to leave you with my mother, and she's going to clean you up. And in the last 10 years, she has definitely cleaned me up, and she has brought me closer. I can't get any closer to her son, Jesus Christ. He's my brother. God is my father. Mary's my mother. Joseph is I love him, and the saints and the disciples in heaven, they are my family. And I was just like all the guys that are going to come to this event March 1st. I'm just a guy. And I want guys I want guys that are broken. I want guys to come that don't go to church, that don't believe in church. I want guys to come that are mad at God. I want people who are broken, because we all are broken. And I realized it when I picked that statue up and put her in the truck. And eventually I called a priest, and I slowly started to go back to Catholic Church. And I asked Father Mark, I said, listen, I've got this statue. It's all broken. Where can I get her fixed? He told me in the spring, take her to this monument maker, which I did. And he looked at her, and she's in two pieces. And he goes, oh, yeah, I can put her together. I can put new hands on her. I'll paint her, and she won't even look broken. She'll look brand new. And that's when everything hit me. The medical crap that I was going through, the radio, everything, I just started to cry, literally cry in front of this man I don't know. And I said, don't you touch her. I said, just put her back together, the two halves. Keep her broken. Her name is Broken Mary. And I named her that. Her name is Broken Mary. I had her blessed. I took her home. And what was happening, all I can compare it to is that here's this statue of Mary in my dining room, and I would talk to her like Tom Hanks talked to that volleyball. Every morning I'd get up and I'd say, hi, Mary, and I'd talk to her. And Jesus Christ was right. Spending time with Mary, she is going to clean you up. And I'm going to tell every guy that's listening right now, there are so many. I've prayed for the longest time. In my first men's speaking engagement happened when I met Bob in Orange County and all these men. I have been speaking to so many women's groups, and it's like, hey, I want to get over on that side of the room. I want to speak with guys. And so here it is. My requests are being fulfilled. I'm coming to Texas. I'm looking so much forward to it in Texas. I've the only guys I've spoken to are the Orange County guys. Now I'm coming to Texas, and I spent a lot of time talking to prison inmates, from lifers all the way down to first timers. And when you're speaking to a lifer, they can smell BS just miles away. And I've gotten so close to the inmates, and now they're reciting the Rosary. And I had one inmate say to me, Kevin, I'm going to die here. And I said, yes, but look at, you're holding a rosary. I said, you get to choose where you go after this. And that's our choice in life, folks. We choose either heaven or hell. God, I am so tired of people making God out to be this monster who causes, cancer. God's not going to give children cancer or MS, or he's not like that. He's a loving God. We choose heaven or hell. We do. And I'm very blessed to be doing this. I made a deal with Jesus. I said, Jesus, and I still do this. It's hard for me to even imagine my life right now. It's like it's come 180. I'm not a saint. I'm a sinner. And I said, Jesus, you know what I am, Jesus? All I want to be is your shepherd dog. And I'm this beat up, old, bruised, dirty shepherd dog. And all I want to do is get lambs that have just ventured away from Jesus, get them back to him. And don't do it in biting, don't do it in barking, just gently get them back to the shepherd of life, Christ. That's all I want to do. So when you come and see me, I'm as beat up as you are. And I want the folks that are hopeless to come, because it's not me, it's Christ. It's God. God loves the messiest, the most broken, the ones with the most problems. If Jesus Christ can raise Lazarus from the dead, chances are he can help you with an addiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kevin Matthews is my guest. He is one of the speakers at the upcoming Be a Man of Joy in a Broken World Men's Conference. It's going to be at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Parish in Keller, Saturday, March 1st, CatholicBrothersForChrist.com/men's faith event to get your tickets. And as I hear you speak, Kevin, and I look at the subtitle of your Broken Mary book, it's called A Journey of Hope. And we're in the Jubilee year, and the Holy Father has chosen that theme. And so what a cool convergence on that whole theme of hope, which pretty much is what your talk is going to be all about, isn't it?
Yeah, I beat the Pope by 4 years, and I love him. And I also hear the Pope was talking a year ago about the brokenness, and I love him and whatnot, and I'm very honored. And I'm bringing the statue too, and I got to thank Rick, because Rick has been working with me getting the airfare and getting to Texas, and I asked him if I could get a window seat, and Rick, it doesn't know it yet, but I take this statue, and I hate to talk about a woman's weight, but man, she is heavy. And so it's so funny because I have her in this case, and I know TSA opens it all the time, and I get these cards, and I just know when they open it up, this statue of the Virgin Mary is looking right at them, and they always wave me through, and I always love flying with her. And, I am definitely Mary's roadie. Just when I think things are slowing down, I get a phone call. Ooh, hey, it's Rick from Texas. And I can't wait to come to Texas, because I've got I wish I could have spent more time in Texas. I've only been to Dallas, and that was at the airport. And I've always wanted to, see more of Texas.
Well, we're looking forward to having you here for sure.
I'm a closet Taylor Sheridan. I just want to go to the 4 Sixes and just hang out in Texas. My wife even got me an autographed picture of Taylor Sheridan. So that tells you a little bit. Maybe that's a red flag, and now you guys will cancel me.
No, not yet. Hey, Kevin, I got to ask you, in the bio that I looked up your book, Broken Mary, A Journey of Hope, and it talked about you're in this process of conversion, awakening to the dignity of women. And you've mentioned speaking to women, and of course our Blessed Mother, who you have such great devotion to. And I think this is something, I don't know if it's going to come up in your talk when you come on March 1st, but I think it's something that we men need to really hear. And can you give us any kind of preview of that transformation about just your attitude towards women?
What had happened is I found the statue. Like I said, I was born Catholic, so I found a Catholic church, and a friend of mine was a priest who I'd met over culinary events, and I slowly got my feet wet back into the Catholic Church. And I noticed, coming from Chicago, and coming now to Michigan, if this makes sense, when I walked into St. Anthony's Parish, I could not look at the statue of the Virgin Mary in church eye to eye. I was just too ashamed. And I always looked down. I can't look at you, Mary. I can't look at you. And eventually I ended up learning how to recite the Rosary. I became very, very close to Mary, and still very close to Mary. And she truly has cleaned me up. And one of the things, there's no such thing as a coincidence, everybody. Things happen for a reason. You're being guided by God. One of the things is, I eventually went to Fatima, Portugal with Father Mark, and this nun that helped me write my first book. She produced it. She did not want to work with me. She brought up Howard Stern. She went to her Mother Superior and said, "Kevin's Satan. I'm not doing it." And literally, and eventually she did, and we wrote the book, and Matthew Kelly signed us and whatnot. But I took the proceeds of the first book, and I said, I'm going to take Father Mark and this nun to Fatima, Portugal for the 100th anniversary. And we went, and it was game-changing. It just changed me so much. I was looking at this statue of Mary down in Fatima, and I'm sitting all by myself, and I looked up and I said, "Mary, I wrote a book. I've got a Rosary app. Now what?" And as soon as I said, "Now what?" I realized how derogatory that was, and something whizzed by my head. And I looked, and it was this pine cone, this giant pine cone. And I had her tell me, she wants nothing, just plant the seeds of my Rosary, because that's what a pine cone is, a seed. Plant the seeds of my Rosary. And so Father Mark came back from his walk, and I'm sitting there, and I go, "Father, how many pine cones do you see around here?" And he looks, and he's like, he thinks I'm a mental case anyways. He looks, and he goes, there's none. We're in an olive garden. And I said, well, this one almost hit me in the head, and I since have brought that home. But that is my work to do, is to plant the seeds of the Rosary. The Rosary is Mary's umbilical cord. It's how she feeds us Jesus. And to every guy listening, I hope that you adapt that, and I'll talk about this in this talk on March 1st. Any man listening is men need Mary. And you think Mary and Mary Magdalene, these two women were around the disciples in Christ. And what they did with Christ and the disciples is amazing. And that's what I've been doing. I love Mary. One of the best quotes I've ever heard in my life said, he, H-E, men, he who neglects the Virgin Mary will die in his sins. And there's so much truth to that. And so Mary has cleaned me up, and I love waking up in the morning. Folks, this is what I love to do. I plant the seeds of the Rosary and get those little lambs over to the big shepherd Christ. That's my life right now. I've never been happier. I have far less, and I've never been happier.
Yeah, awesome. Kevin, thanks so much. You've shared so much. I love that. I've never heard that umbilical cord comparison with Our Lady in the Rosary. That is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, I'm going to let Bob and Rick say a word, and then we got to let you go. But thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you on the 1st of March. And again, Kevin Matthews, one of the speakers at the men's conference. Thanks, Kevin. Along with Father Leo Paddling Hug and Chris Stefanik. I'm going to be the MC. So, Bob and Rick, I'm just going to give you guys about a minute or two.
Yeah, guys, just sign up at CatholicBrothersForChrist.com. It's real easy. Don't wait till the last minute. You heard one of the speakers, and he's going to he's outstanding. So we're looking forward to that. So sign up, CatholicBrothersForChrist.com. That's all you need to do, and you will get to
it's right there.
Bob?
Kevin, thank you for sharing. You're going to change a lot of men's lives. And if you're a wife listening to this, sign your husband up. You'll want him to be around a real man like Kevin Matthews. And I have read his books. They're incredible, and we can't wait for you to change a lot of hearts in Texas.